more of your reactions, what you're hearing so far from the Conservative Party conference, but joined, pleased to say, by Chancellor Exchequer Rishi Sunak here. Thank you for coming along, Chancellor. And while there are good morning to you, many matters to discuss, not least your maiden speech, which we're going to hear, of course, to a live audience. I am getting so much comments, emails, texts and tweets. There is still a petrol crisis. There is a suggestion that some ministers are not acknowledging that in a way Boris Johnson was a little bit naive. He said, no, it's sorting itself out. What do you think the reality is? People listening in the South and South East are still struggling, Chancellor.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And what I'd say to people is, and these are the facts, so no one is trying to sugarcoat it, we know there's enough petrol at our refineries and our terminals. And the issue is we've had a very steep demand spike, and that's meant there's been some disruption as we've all seen and experienced firsthand. But the good news is it is getting better. So I think every single day since about last Tuesday, we've delivered more petrol to forecourts than has been taken out. The number of people getting deliveries has increased. The volume of fuel getting delivered has increased. And about a week ago, I think almost 2/3 of petrol stations ran out, whereas that was down to less than a third a few days ago. So look, that is a situation that is improving. Those are the facts. That said, we know that there are still some areas, as you highlighted. As you know, the army drivers have gone out to try.
Why did it take over a week to get the army on the case?
Well, because fundamentally, as I said, that we know that there's enough supply at the refineries and the terminals, and the issue was a demand spike. But as an extra precaution, we've put the extra drivers on, but the situation has been improving now for, I think, over a week. Every day as the stats have come on, it is getting better. And as demand settles back to more normal levels, the strong expectation is that things will resolve themselves.
So do you think by the end of this week we will be back to a normal?
It's hard for me to precise day on it, because it's really a function of demand levels, and as demand levels return to normal levels, the situation will return, and that's a hard thing to precisely forecast. But people should know we're doing everything we can, and I know it's frustrating.
And is this a warning of things to come with other supplies? There's been suggestions that the Christmas supply chain for goods and possibly even toys, and I think I read in the weekend that you're under pressure from your own children, that if the toys aren't on the shelves, understandably. Is this what we're going to see over the next couple of months, Chancellor?
No, I think what we are seeing, not just here though, Nick, around the world, is disruptions in supply chains. And so that's not a UK specific phenomenon, it's more broadly experienced. And that's because countries are reopening rather rapidly after coronavirus and after having been locked down for quite a while. And that is causing some challenges for countries to work through. We're not alone in that. With HGV drivers, it's not a UK issue, it's a Europe-wide issue and beyond. But I want people to know that we are doing everything we can to mitigate some of those challenges where we can make a difference. So whether with HGV drivers, whether it's speeding up testing capacity, processing tests for drivers, or indeed in the short term, having some temporary visas to help us get over the next couple of months, we are taking all the pragmatic steps we can.
Will there be a proper Christmas? Are you as confident about Christmas as the Prime Minister?
I'm always in lockstep with the Prime Minister.
About Christmas?
So about everything.
About everything. So your daughters will have their toys and everything else?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to talk about their Christmas list now. They might be listening. You've got to keep them lean and mean. You've got to keep behaviour. It's all about behaviour.
You've started your Christmas shopping, it says here.
I started making a list.
Oh, you started making a list? So you haven't got anything for Auntie Maud just yet?
Not just yet. I've started making a list. Yes, I mean, I'm looking forward. But I get in trouble for talking about Christmas this early. I'm loving this opportunity to do it.
No, we'll talk about other things. Now, later you're going to be talking about £500 million to help furloughed workers find jobs is one headline. How will that cash be spent?
So a year ago, or a year and a half ago, I said that my number one economic priority was people's jobs, and we outlined our plan for jobs. The good news is that it's working. Compared to what people feared a year and a bit ago, we're in much better place with unemployment lower than anyone thought, falling, better than most other countries. So that's our plan for jobs working. Today we've doubled down on it. We've extended it into next year. I'll give you a couple of examples.
Please.
Young people, we know how badly affected they were because of the types of industries they work in. The Kickstart scheme is a key part of our approach to helping them. It provides fully funded, high-quality job opportunities for young people at risk of unemployment. It's been a terrific success. 70,000 Kickstarters have had their lives transformed by this program. We're extending that into next year. But the other thing we're doing is helping those older. And we don't talk about that as much, but those over the age of 50 have also seen quite a challenging time. That's emerged in the data. So one of the interventions we're outlining today is a more intensive support for those people with work coaches to give them the support they need to get new jobs or earn more money or find new skills.
OK. Can I talk tax with you? In the lifetime of this government, will taxes go up again? Will they come down? What is your expectation?
So, I mean, it's tough as you would expect. I can't comment on future budgets and things. Now, you're obviously referring to the decision that we made a month or so ago, which was a difficult decision to raise people's
Not a very
taxes.
conservative decision, is it?
Yeah, it was a particularly difficult decision for a Conservative government, Conservative Chancellor and Prime Minister to make, but we believed it was the right thing to do, and that's because the NHS needs significant sums to help recover from the coronavirus and the backlog that has built up.
Do you think they spend money wisely at the moment?
Well, and we've just finished, and we said something on that the other day as well, which I'll touch on, but also I think the Prime Minister deserves enormous credit for wanting to grapple with the challenges in social care that other governments have ducked for a very long time. And so, this new levy will help fund reforms in social care that have never happened before, invest in the social care workforce. So although it was a difficult thing to do, it was the right thing to do, and it will make an enormous difference.
Tax is going up, corporation tax goes up to 25% in 18 months. It doesn't feel very conservative, Chancellor.
Well, I think it is entirely conservative to manage the nation's
to raise taxes and
to manage the nation's public finances responsibly and make sure things add up. We've suffered the biggest economic shock in 300 years. Now, obviously, that's had an impact, and given that we've got commitments that we want to make, whether it's on the NHS, whether it's more police officers, whether it's levelling up around the country, we want to make sure we can deliver on those, which is why we've taken these decisions. But we've been upfront with people about it, why we're doing it in what I believe to be a fair way. And you're right, as you asked about the NHS, we need to make sure that every pound of your listeners' money is well spent.
Do you think it is?
Well, you saw the announcement from the Health Secretary the other day about bringing in someone to have a look at how the NHS works and making sure that we get value for money, and people should hold us to account for that.
Okay, and just holding you to account, you can't say what the tax situation will be in the lifetime. You can't say whether taxes will go up again or taxes will come down.
I never can comment about future tax policy, but as I said, we've taken the decisions we have in order to do some very specific things that I think people would want us to do to make sure the NHS can recover from the backlog, to reform social care. And I think people will acknowledge, look, we have experienced this once in a hopefully 300-year economic shock,
right?
And that's going to have an impact.
As a senior member of the government, I've got to get you on something that's not exactly on your brief, which is what appears to be the crisis in policing. You'll be aware that another police officer has been charged. We can't comment too much on that, but we know the horrific case involving Wayne Couzens. You may also be aware that a lot of police officers appear to have some kind of misogynistic background to their social media. Chancellor?
Yeah, I think we all obviously should be able to trust the police, and the fact that you're having to ask this question tells me that there's a problem, right? And
do we need a review or an inquiry, or?
Well, I think the Home Secretary, there's clearly questions for the Metropolitan Police to answer. The Home Secretary is holding them to account for that, and that work is going on. But I think it starts probably with an acknowledgement from men in particular about the scale of the challenge here, and making sure that we are aware of it and recognise what an issue it is, and then, as we've already put in place, continue to make efforts to improve the situation, because Wayne Couzens was roaming around very close to where my old home in London was. My wife was telling me about that. I hadn't noticed, and that brought that home for me, and we just need to do a better job, particularly as a set of male politicians, of recognising that.
Last couple of minutes together, last couple of questions. You could save a lot of money if you scrapped HS2. How committed are you to that?
The government is committed to HS2.
You are, personally?
We are, as a government. Of course we are.
Why?
Because we believe that
the costs are soaring, everybody's working from home, the dynamic has changed. I mean, what's the percentage of your staff who are in their offices at the moment?
An increasing number, actually. We've got a spending review and a budget.
You've got to do a bit better than an increasing.
Yeah, I know. I haven't got the latest. Well, actually, the Treasury in particular is filling up, and we're busy because we have a spending review and a budget to do in a few weeks.
So what's the percentage that are in?
I haven't got the latest number, but we already operated a hybrid model because we have more staff than desks.
So why do we need HS2?
Because infrastructure, even though people don't like that word, infrastructure can transform people's prospects. That's why, very simply. And some of these big projects, at the time you do them, people will be sceptical. But over time, people will see that improving the connectivity amongst our cities will help us create job opportunities, and that's what it's about.
Lastly, in that Mail article, which I read on a train that left on time and came in on time and was a very good journey, so I don't need to move in more, you were asked, do you really understand the cost of living crisis? Yes, you say, I do understand. It's challenging, I appreciate that, and I do some shopping. So I did yesterday, Chancellor. I decided to go to a supermarket.
Right.
What is the price of a tin of baked beans?
A tin of baked beans, I don't know. Less than probably 50-ish p, maybe? I don't know.
95.
95, okay.
Okay.
I get the smaller packet ones, though.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
A loaf of bread?
About £1, depending on that. That is white, is it? Mine's about £1.
Spot on. Last one was £1 exactly.
There we go. Oh gosh.
A litre, 1.1 litre of milk.
Okay, I don't know. I mean, I'd say a pint of milk is about 50p, but I have a very rural constituency, Nick. So when you ask
I don't know
me,
what that's got to do with the
no,
price of milk.
it does because here's the thing, because when you ask me about that, I think about my dairy farmers, and they think about milk in terms of pence per litre for them wholesale. And actually, we have, when I first became an MP, well, when I first became an MP, the price for milk at wholesale was under 20p a litre for dairy farmers, which was really, really bad.
Well, you're spot on the bread. So you're spot on to the penny on the bread. You were way out on the baked beans. This is going to be the decider.
Oh, but it's 50p a pint.
Yeah. So what are you saying for?
Well, I don't buy those big ones. I buy the little ones in my office, about 50p.
No, that's 85p.
Okay, but that's a much bigger than one that I buy.
All right. Well,
my pint is probably about right. But I buy that for the office.
Well, I'll give you the bread. I'm going to keep the baked beans.
You can have. So I'm getting the bread and the milk.
You get to take that with you. You can start breakfast with that.
There we go.
Good luck today. What's the big challenge with your speech today?
Well, having some time to prepare it. First of all, that would be good. No, what we're trying to get across. Well, we'll talk a little bit about jobs and what we've been talking about, the importance of making sure people have the skills and the opportunities they need. We'll talk a little bit about public finances. You touched on that, and I want to make sure people understand why that's important. Talk a little bit about the values that have underpinned all the things I've done over the past 12 to 18 months. And then probably most importantly, I'll talk a little bit about the future. And I want to make sure people realise we've got a plan for the future. We want to capitalise on the opportunities that are coming our way as a country. And part of my job is to make sure we're ready to do that.
Good luck.
Thank you.
It's a hell of a debut speech to make.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Rishi Sunak on LBC. 2 minutes after 8. News is next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, the Chancellor has told LBC the fuel crisis is down to a very steep rise in demand.